I couldn't believe what she wanted me to do with that jar, a true infidelity story. Have you ever looked at something so ordinary, so harmless, that it somehow began to feel dangerous? That's how I felt the moment she handed me that jar. It wasn't anything special, just a small glass container, the kind you'd find in any kitchen. But the way she held it out, trembling fingers, eyes glistening with something between guilt and desperation. I knew it wasn't about the jar. It was about what was inside. "Myra," I said slowly, "what exactly do you want me to do with this?" She didn't answer right away. Her gaze darted toward the window, the late afternoon light slicing through the curtains, painting golden stripes across her face. She looked tired, older somehow, like the weight of her secret had been pressing down on her for years. "It's his," she whispered finally. I couldn't throw it away. That was the first time I felt something crack open inside me. Because his could only mean one person. My brother, Daniel. 3 years ago, Daniel had died in a car accident. At least, that's what I believed. Myra was his wife then. And me? I was the brother who helped her pick up the pieces afterward. I moved her things, fixed her car, helped her sell the house she said held too many memories. We became close, closer than we should have, maybe. But this jar, felt like something forbidden. I took it from her hands gently, though my pulse thudded hard in my chest. Inside, suspended in a pale amber liquid, was a folded piece of paper. Old, yellowed, fragile. "What is this?" I asked. Her lips trembled. "A letter," she said. "But not from him. From me." She took a step closer, so close I could smell her perfume, the same one she used to wear when Daniel was alive. It hit me like memory and betrayal all at once. "I need you to read it," she said. And then, "I need you to do something for me." I wanted to ask why me? Or why now? But the way her eyes met mine, pleading, broken, afraid, told me this wasn't just a favor. This was confession disguised as a request. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, as if the world itself was listening. I held the jar tighter, feeling the glass cool against my skin. I didn't know it yet, but that single moment, her hand brushing mine, that jar between us, was the beginning of the unraveling. The secrets I'd buried, the love I thought I'd lost, and the betrayal I never saw coming. Because sometimes the truth doesn't come crashing down all at once. Sometimes it comes in a jar. Myra and Daniel had always been the golden couple, the kind people envied without meaning to. She was radiant, sharp, always the first to make everyone laugh. Daniel was calm, methodical, the kind of man who could make chaos feel safe. When they got married, I stood beside him as his best man, watching the way he looked at her, like he'd found the meaning of life and somehow convinced it to love him back. I never thought I'd envy my brother. Not until he was gone. The accident happened on a rain-slick road just outside town. Daniel's car had swerved into a ditch. They said it was instant, that he didn't feel pain. But I did, every day after that. And so did she. After the funeral, Myra's house became a museum of stillness. The walls echoed with memories too loud to ignore. I'd visit on weekends, fixing things around her place. A leaking faucet, a jammed door, anything to keep her from drowning in silence. She'd make tea, sit across from me, her eyes rimmed red but defiant. We didn't talk much about Daniel. It was as if saying his name would make the pain real again. But grief has a way of twisting silence into something intimate. Slowly, we began to fill the void, not with laughter, but with presence. I remember one night, 6 months after the accident. The power had gone out during a storm. Candlelight flickered across her face as we sat in the living room, listening to the wind howl outside. "You know," she said quietly, "he always used to say you were the brave one." I laughed softly. "He said that because I did stupid things." Her smile faltered, her gaze meeting mine. "No," she whispered, "because you weren't afraid to feel." There was something in the air that night, something dangerous and fragile. For a heartbeat, I thought she might reach for me. Instead, she turned away, her voice trembling. I don't know who I am without him. And that's when I realized, neither did I. We began spending more time together, though neither of us said what was happening. It wasn't romance. It was something more complicated, more forbidden, two broken souls orbiting the same absence. Then one day, she stopped answering my calls. Weeks passed. When she finally showed up at my door, she looked pale, haunted. That was yesterday. And now, that jar sits between us, glowing faintly in the dying light of evening. I can feel it, the weight of something about to shift. Whatever is written on that letter inside the jar, it's not just about Daniel. It's about us. I didn't open the jar that night. I couldn't. It sat on my kitchen counter like a ghost, silent, patient, and far too heavy for its size. Every time I passed by, it seemed to pull at me, whispering Myra's voice in the back of my mind, I need you to do something for me. Sleep didn't come easily. When it did, it came in fragments, Daniel's laughter, Myra's tears, and the faint clink of glass. I woke before dawn, heart pounding, sweat clinging to my skin like guilt. By sunrise, I'd made up my mind. I twisted the lid open. The faint smell of something chemical drifted up, and there it was, a folded, water-stained letter sealed inside a thin plastic sleeve. My fingers trembled as I pulled it free. The handwriting was unmistakably Myra's. Then it began, my name. Not Daniel's. If you're reading this, then I've done what I couldn't face while you were here. I've kept a secret I can't carry anymore. Daniel wasn't supposed to find out. No one was. But the truth always finds a way, doesn't it? I stopped reading. My throat tightened, a tremor rippling through my chest. Daniel wasn't supposed to find out? About what? I forced myself to continue. I loved him, but I loved you too. And maybe that was my greatest sin, trying to love two brothers the same way. The night before the accident, Daniel confronted me. He knew. I told him everything. The words blurred for a moment as my eyes stung with disbelief. Daniel knew? He said he was going to you, to demand the truth. But he never made it. You remember that night, don't you? The storm? The road outside town. I dropped the letter as if it had burned me. That storm. I remembered it too well. The call from the hospital. The police saying Daniel's car had veered off the road. The same road I had been driving home on just hours earlier. It couldn't be. The room seemed to close in around me, the air too thick to breathe. Myra had said she couldn't throw the jar away, because she'd trapped the truth inside it. When she arrived at my door yesterday, she hadn't been asking for help. She'd been asking for forgiveness. I stared at the letter on the table, my name bleeding through the thin paper. Outside, the morning light was soft, deceptive, the kind of light that makes everything look cleaner than it is. That's when I heard the knock on my door. So, hesitant, familiar, Myra. And for the first time, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to open it. When I opened the door, Myra stood there like a ghost that had finally come home. Her hair was damp, her coat clinging to her like she'd walked through a storm that hadn't yet reached the rest of the world. She didn't wait for me to invite her in. She just brushed past, her eyes locking onto the kitchen counter, where the open jar and unfolded letter sat waiting. So you read it, she said quietly. Her voice was thin, brittle. She didn't ask if I was angry. She already knew. I closed the door slowly, the sound echoing through the room like a final judgment. You lied to me, Myra, I said. You lied to both of us. She turned toward me, tears already brimming. I didn't know how else to survive, Ethan. After Daniel died, I couldn't tell you what really happened. You would have hated me. I think I already do, I whispered. She flinched. But she didn't leave. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice trembling with something raw and unguarded. That night, she said, Daniel came home and found the messages. Yours and mine. He confronted me, told me I'd betrayed him with his own brother. I tried to explain, but he wouldn't listen. He said he was going to you, that he'd make you confess. I stared at her, my heartbeat drumming in my ears. You let me believe it was an accident. Tears spilled down her cheeks. It was an accident, Ethan. He left in a fury, drunk, blinded by rage. I tried to stop him, I even ran after him. But when I got to the road, I saw your car in the distance. You were driving the other way. You passed him. You must have seen his headlights. The memory hit me like a wave of cold water. That night, I'd seen a car flash past me, its tires screeching on wet asphalt. I remembered thinking the driver was reckless. I never imagined it was Daniel. I didn't know, I murmured. I didn't know it was him. Myra's voice broke. That's why I kept the letter. I wrote it that night, before I even knew he was gone. It was my confession. But I couldn't destroy it. I couldn't let you find it either. I looked at her, the woman who had once been my brother's wife, the woman I'd loved in secret. Every truth between us now lay bare and bleeding. So what do you want me to do with it? I asked, nodding toward the letter. She met my eyes, her voice barely a whisper. Burn it. Please. Let him rest. For a moment, I wanted to end it all in one flicker of flame. But something inside me refused. Maybe, I said slowly, it's time the dead stopped carrying our sins. Her breath caught, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes, not of me, but of what the truth might finally take from her. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The letter lay between us on the counter, fragile and cruel, like a wound that refused to close. Myra's eyes were fixed on it, her lips trembling with the kind of silence that begs for absolution. I reached for the jar, feeling the cool glass against my palm. You think burning it will make the past disappear? I asked quietly. She shook her head, tears streaking down her cheeks. No. But maybe it'll stop haunting us. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But as I looked at that letter, her handwriting, my name, Daniel's ghost in every word, I realized something undeniable. The past doesn't burn. It lingers, in ash and memory and the space between forgiveness and blame. Still, I took the letter outside. The sun had started to set, painting the horizon in bruised shades of orange and gray. Myra followed, standing a few feet behind me, arms wrapped around herself like she was holding in what was left of her heart. I knelt, struck a match, and watched the tiny flame quiver against the wind. The paper curled almost instantly, blackening at the edges, the ink bleeding into nothing. When it was gone, just a whisper of smoke drifting upward, I turned to her. It's over, I said. But even as I spoke the words, I knew they weren't true. Myra stared at the fading embers. I loved him, Ethan, she said softly. But I loved you differently. And that's something I'll never forgive myself for. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her, or maybe to punish myself, but I didn't. There are moments when touch becomes too heavy with history. Instead, I said, we can't undo what we did. But we can stop living like the dead own us. She nodded, though her eyes told me she wasn't sure how. She turned to leave, her footsteps light, hesitant. As she reached the gate, she paused and looked back once, the way people do when they know it's the last time. Then she was gone. The yard fell quiet. The air smelled faintly of smoke and rain, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, ordinary life continuing, indifferent to the ruin we'd made of ours. I stood there until the stars began to show, the jar still in my hand, empty now. A hollow thing that once held a secret too heavy for words. Sometimes I wonder if burning that letter freed her, or trapped me. Because even now, when the nights are long and the world goes still, I can hear Daniel's voice, not angry, not accusing, just asking one quiet question I'll never escape. Was she worth it? And no matter how many times I try to answer, the truth always sounds the same, like glass breaking in the dark. Sometimes I wonder if burning that letter freed her, or trapped me. Because even now, when the nights turn quiet and the air smells faintly of smoke, I can still hear Daniel's voice, gentle, distant, and unforgiving. Was she worth it? And no matter how many times I try to answer, the truth always sounds the same. Like glass breaking in the dark. For more interesting infidelity story, please subscribe to our channel.